My neighbor tried to kick down my son's snow fort. It ended her HOA career. The sound of a tibia snapping is distinct. It's not a wet thud, and it's not a crack like a whip. It's a dry, hollow pop, like a piece of seasoned firewood giving up under the weight of an axe. I know this sound because I replayed the Ring camera footage 20 times this morning, sipping my coffee while the woman across the street screamed into the frozen air of the cul-de-sac. I sat in my darkened living room, the blue light of my iPad illuminating the grin I couldn't wipe off my face. On the screen, Brenda, my neighbor, the HOA vice president, and the woman who once called the police because my grass was aggressively long, was lying in a fetal position in a snowbank. She was clutching her right boot. Her face was a mask of absolute, bewildered agony. She had come for the castle. She had come to destroy the joy of two little boys. But she forgot that when you attack a fortress, you better check the structural integrity of the walls first. The snow started falling 3 days ago. It was that heavy, wet packing snow, the kind that makes your back scream when you shovel it, but makes for world-class architecture if you're 8 years old. My sons, Leo and Sam, spent the entire weekend out there. They didn't just build a mound. They built the citadel. It was impressive. They used 5-gallon buckets to pack bricks. They built a perimeter wall that was 3 feet high and 2 feet thick. They carved out a tunnel. They even made a little icy throne in the center. It was the best thing they had ever made, and for 48 hours, they were the kings of winter. I was watching them from the porch, nursing a bourbon and feeling that rare dad pride, when I saw the curtains twitch across the street. Brenda's house is pristine. It's beige. Her car is beige. I'm pretty sure her soul is beige. She hates anything that disrupts the visual harmony of the street. She stormed out of her front door at 4 p.m. yesterday. She wasn't wearing boots. She was wearing slippers and a bathrobe, clutching her phone like a weapon. "Hey," she shrieked. The cold air carried her voice perfectly. "Hey. You." I set my drink down on the railing. "Afternoon, Brenda. Beautiful snow, isn't it?" "It's a mess," she yelled, marching to the edge of her driveway, careful not to touch the snow with her slippers. "Look at that pile of trash in your yard. It looks like a shantytown. You need to knock it down." "It's a snow fort, Brenda," I called back, keeping my voice level. "The kids built it. They're having fun." "It's an eyesore," she hissed. "I have guests coming this weekend. I don't want them looking at a pile of dirty ice. It violates the aesthetic clause of the neighborhood charter." "The charter says we can't have permanent structures," I corrected her. "Snow melts. It's temporary. Unless you've figured out how to stop the sun, Brenda, it'll be gone in a week." "I want it gone now," she screamed, stamping her foot. "If you don't take it down by tomorrow morning, I will. I'll come over there and stomp it flat myself. I mean it, Mike. I'll destroy it." Leo stopped packing a snowball. He looked at me, his eyes wide. "Dad? Is she gonna break the castle?" I felt the heat rising in my neck. It was a physical sensation, a tightening of the muscles behind my ears. I looked at my son's scared face, and then I looked at Brenda, who was standing there with her arms crossed, smug and shivering. "No, buddy," I whispered to Leo. "She's not going to break the castle." I turned back to Brenda. "Stay off my property, Brenda. I'm warning you." "Watch me," she yelled, turning on her heel. "Tomorrow morning. It better be flat." She slammed her door. I looked at the fort. It was sturdy, sure. But it was just snow. If a full-grown adult wanted to kick it down, they could. A few heavy boots to the walls and it would crumble. Leo and Sam would wake up to a pile of rubble. I wasn't going to let that happen. I waited until the boys were asleep. I waited until the lights in Brenda's house went dark. At 11:30 p.m., I went to the garage. The temperature had dropped to 12 degrees. The air was biting. Perfect. I uncoiled the garden hose. I attached the high-pressure nozzle. I crept out into the front yard like a ninja in a Carhartt jacket. I didn't just spray the fort. You can't just spray it, that melts the snow. You have to mist it. You have to layer it. It's a technique I learned from an old engineer buddy. It's called picrete, or at least, a version of it. When you saturate packed snow with water and let it freeze deep, it stops being snow. It becomes a composite material. It becomes concrete made of ice. I started at the base. I misted the water over the blocks. I watched it soak in, turning the white fluff into a translucent gray. I waited 10 minutes for it to freeze hard. Then I did another layer. And another. I worked for 2 hours. My fingers were numb. My nose was running. But by 2 a.m., the citadel wasn't a snow fort anymore. The walls were solid, 3-foot-thick blocks of ice. You could have driven a Honda Civic into that wall and the car would have totaled before the wall moved. I gave the central tower a final glaze, glistening under the streetlight. It looked innocent. It looked soft. "Come and get it," I whispered to the dark windows across the street. I went inside, locked the door, and slept the sleep of the righteous. I woke up at 7 a.m. The sun was just cresting the horizon, casting long, sharp shadows across the snow. The world was silent, frozen in that crystal clarity that only happens after a deep freeze. I didn't wake the boys. I went straight to the kitchen, brewed a pot of coffee, and sat at the island with my iPad. I pulled up the Ring camera live feed. The motion sensor pinged at 7:42 a.m. There she was. Brenda came out of her house. She was dressed for battle this time. She wore a heavy parka, a fur hat, and thick, rubber-soled winter boots. She looked like a beige tank. She didn't look around to see if anyone was watching. She marched straight across the street, her breath puffing in angry little clouds. She walked right past the property line. She walked right up to the main wall of the fort. I leaned closer to the screen. "Don't do it, Brenda." She stood there for a second, looking at the wall. She probably thought it was soft. She probably imagined her boot sinking into it, the satisfying crumble of snow giving way, the power trip of destroying something beautiful. She backed up a step to get leverage. She wound up. It was a full-force, soccer-style kick. She put her entire hip into it. She committed 100% of her body weight to the destruction of my son's hard work. Her boot connected with the wall. Crunch. The wall didn't move. It didn't even chip. It didn't shudder. It was an immovable object meeting a very movable force. The energy of the kick had nowhere to go. Physics is a cruel mistress. The force reverberated instantly back up her leg. On the video, I saw her ankle twist at a horrific angle. I saw her knee buckle. Then, the scream hit the microphone. It wasn't a word. It was a high-pitched, animalistic shriek. Brenda dropped like a sack of potatoes. She hit the snow, clutching her foot, rolling back and forth. My foot. Oh God, my foot. I took a sip of coffee. It was delicious. I waited 30 seconds, just enough time to save the video clip to my cloud storage and email a copy to myself, before I stood up. I put on my boots. I put on my coat. I walked out the front door, acting confused and sleepy. "Brenda?" I called out, jogging down the driveway. "What happened? Are you okay?" She looked up at me. Her face was pale, drained of all blood. Her mascara was already running. She was rocking back and forth, holding her boot. "You," she screamed, pointing a shaking finger at me. You put a rock in there. You put a rock in the snow." "A rock?" I crouched down, keeping a safe distance. Brenda, why are you in my yard? Why are you kicking my kid's fort? I told you I was going to take it down, she sobbed, grabbing her shin. It's hard. It's like rock. You set a trap. You tried to kill me. I watered it, Brenda, I said calmly. It got cold last night. Ice is hard. Everyone knows that. I think it's broken, she wailed. My toes. My ankle. Call 911. I looked at her foot. It was swelling inside the boot. I could tell just by the way she was holding it. Okay, I said. I'm calling. I pulled out my phone and dialed. The ambulance arrived 10 minutes later. A police cruiser pulled up right behind it. Of course. She must have called the cops from the ground while I was inside getting my coat. Officer Ramirez stepped out. He was a big guy, looked like he had been dealing with fender benders all morning and was over it. What's the situation? Ramirez asked, looking at Brenda being loaded onto the stretcher. He assaulted me. Brenda screamed from the gurney. He set a booby trap. He built a concrete wall and hit it with snow to break my leg. Ramirez looked at me. One eyebrow went up. It's a snow fort, officer, I said. My kids built it. I sprayed it with water last night so it wouldn't collapse. It froze. She walked onto my property this morning and kicked it. Ramirez walked over to the fort. He tapped it with his baton. Clink. Clink. Solid, he muttered. He walked back to me. She says you did it to hurt her. I did it to keep the roof from caving in on my 8-year-old, I lied smoothly. Structural integrity. Also, she threatened to destroy it yesterday. I have witnesses. My kids heard her say she was going to stomp it flat. I'm suing you. Brenda yelled as they loaded her into the back of the ambulance. I'm taking your house, Mike. You broke my foot. That is assault with a deadly weapon. The doors slammed shut. The ambulance drove off. Ramirez sighed. He looked at the fort. He looked at me. Is there video? He asked. 4K resolution, I said. Audio too. Can I see it? I pulled out my phone. I played the clip. Ramirez watched Brenda march across the street. He watched her wind up. He watched the kick. He watched her fall. He actually chuckled. He tried to hide it, coughing into his glove, but I saw it. She crossed the property line, Ramirez noted, pointing at the screen. She initiated the contact with the structure. She trespassed, I said. And she attempted to vandalize property. Technically, Ramirez nodded. Look, she's going to sue you. People like that always do. But criminally. You didn't do anything. You reinforced a snow fort on your own land. She's the one who decided to karate kick a glacier. So I'm good. I'll write the report, Ramirez said. Incident ruled as accidental injury due to trespassing and attempted vandalism. Keep that video. You're going to need it for her insurance company. He got in his car and left. I went back inside. The boys were waking up. Dad? Leo rubbed his eyes, walking into the kitchen. Why was there a siren? Just a neighbor had a little accident, Bud, I said, pouring cereal. Slipped on the ice. Is the fort okay? The fort, I smiled, is invincible. 2 hours later, my phone blew up. Not a call. A text. It was from an unknown number, but I knew who it was. Unknown, this is Greg, Brenda's husband. She is in surgery. 3 broken metatarsals and a hairline fracture of the tibia. We are contacting our attorney. You built a hazard. You will be hearing from us. I sat down at the table. I cracked my knuckles. I typed back. Me, hi Greg. Sorry to hear about the surgery. Just so you know, I have 4K video of Brenda trespassing on my property at 7:42 a.m. and attempting to vandalize my children's play structure. The police have already reviewed it and filed a report for criminal trespassing and attempted criminal mischief. Officer Ramirez said I have a solid case if I want to press charges for the damage to the snow. If you want to sue, go ahead. I'll send the video to her insurance company and deny her coverage for committing a crime. Or, you can pay my legal fees and we can call it even. Your call. 3 dots appeared. They waved for a long time. Then they disappeared. Then they appeared again. Greg, we will not be pursuing legal action. Please do not post the video. I didn't reply to that. I walked to the window. The fort stood glistening in the sun. It was a monument. Around noon, I saw Greg's car pull into their driveway. He got out. He looked at my house. He looked at the fort. He shook his head, looking tired, and walked inside. Brenda came home 2 days later. She was on crutches. She had a massive cast on her leg. I was outside shoveling the driveway, the pavement, not the fort, when she hobbled out of the car. She looked at me. The venom was gone. Replaced by fear. She looked at the fort like it was a sleeping dragon. Careful, Brenda, I called out cheerfully. It's slippery out here. She didn't say a word. She just hobbled faster toward her door. The fort lasted until mid-March. It was the last snow to melt in the entire neighborhood. While everyone else had green grass, I still had a stubborn, gray, 2-foot pile of ice in the front yard. A reminder. Every time Brenda drove past it, she flinched. My kids eventually got bored of it, but I didn't. I loved that pile of ice. I heard from another neighbor that Brenda told the HOA board she was stepping down as VP because of health issues. Apparently, she couldn't attend the meetings because she couldn't drive. I checked the bylaws. There's no rule against ice. There's no rule against water. And there is certainly no rule saying I have to pad my property in case a neighbor decides to attack it. So, tell me. Am I the monster for letting my neighbor break her foot on my ice wall, or did she just learn that you shouldn't go around kicking things that don't belong to you?
If you have made it this far and want to see more videos like this, then kindly subscribe and turn on notifications so you may never miss another story like this.